Over 1,000 homes have been razed following a fire at the Kennedy informal settlement in Durban early today. One person has died, and residents fear that more bodies could be found beneath the debris in an incident that allegedly occurred moments after an altercation between two people. For more on this, let's speak to Abahlali baseMjondolo's General Secretary Thapelo Mohapi, who's joining us from Durban. I believe, Thapelo, a very good evening to you. I'm grateful for your time. What's the latest that you're hearing about the injured and perhaps even those who've died in the Kennedy informal settlement, and the child who we're told was missing today?
Good evening, Temegile. The reports are still the same. There's one body that was discovered. We condolences to his family, and we hope that the city and the municipality will come to board to assist those that are destitute as we speak. I know that the municipality is trying to provide a nearby community hall to actually house for temporary for those who have left homeless. It's a devastating moment on the ground when we went. People have lost everything. We are calling on the Department of Home Affairs, Department of Social Development to come on board as quickly as possible. But we are also calling on our partners in the civil society sector to come and assist in this situation. It is a very devastating moment to see people on the ground. The feeling that they have at the moment is undescribable.
Would a single community hall, Thapelo, be enough to house all of those who've lost their homes?
No, which is why I personally had a conversation with the MEC to see what the government's intervention would be. And of course, we are looking at the communities, the wards nearby to actually, wherever there are community halls, to actually assist. But also calling for others to provide some warm meals at this point in time. Having gone through such a difficult time, it is a very difficult moment when you have lost everything. Have you lost your home, lost your documentation, your life just come to a standstill. And we are asking for South Africans, we are appealing to South Africans to be generous at this time and help other South Africans who are in deep crisis as we speak.
And the Kennedy informal settlement has long been a problem, faced multiple problems, has it not, in the past. There have been promises to deal with that situation from a government level. People don't have proper running water. There's no proper electricity supply either. Speak to us about the general conditions there over the years.
Yes, the conditions in Kennedy Road have been for quite some time very inhuman for people to live under. The informal settlements are congested. So in this particular case, there was an argument between two people who were drinking, but the one was stabbed and then they came back. The other one set a fire on the one person, but the other shacks then caught fire. So the congestion of shacks itself in that particular area causes a great concern for the living conditions of the people that are there. People are using standpipes that are very far, from each other. So it is even difficult, even if there were fire brigades that were coming as early at that time as 1 o'clock when the fire took place. It would have been difficult for the fire brigades to get access to in the informal settlements. So it's a very difficult condition, and we are calling on the government to intervene. One of the things that we are calling for is that there must be an informal upgrading where reblocking will take place so that we have access to ambulance, we have access to emergency services when such things are happening. So in the meantime, while people are still waiting, have been waiting for quite some time for housing, because the settlement has been in existence for more than 30 years, that at least government provide the basic services, temporary services such as water, but also create some access for emergency services when things like this happen in the community. So we are calling on the government's intervention. We are prepared to work with government to ensure that such occurrences do not happen over and over again, that we come back and talk about the same thing. We have lives that has been lost. There could be lives if the rubble has been removed, because there are still people that are missing. There are people who are in hospital as we speak. We don't want to go through that period. It is very unhuman for anyone to live under the conditions that people of Kennedy are living currently.
And as Abahlali, baseMjondolo, you've been speaking about the situation at this Kennedy informal settlement as far back as 2009. In fact, I've just pulled up an article where you said back then that it was basically home to about 10,000 people or 2,600 working families, and many of the people work in the informal sector. So unless there's government assistance in terms of housing, many of them are likely going to remain there with no other form of help.
Yes, I mean the state of the conditions in the Kennedy Road. There's high unemployment rates. People are just living, by just getting temporary jobs nearby. Some are working, selling on the streets and so forth. So it is a poor family, community in general, and it is very difficult for people to actually be able to find other places where they can live. Kennedy Road becomes the only place that they can live. But what surprises us is that there is a development that was meant to actually reduce the number of the informal settlement that is taking place nearby. And it has gone wrong. People that are located there are not the rightful owners that are supposed to be people from Kennedy Road. So for as long as those things are taking place and government is not transparent about the allocation of people in the new development, you are bound to see the settlement grows as people move into the area. So we are calling on government to actually find some temporary measures, and those are, let's reblock the area, let's make sure that emergency services are able to get through, so that when people are finally relocated, at least they get to survive such tragedy like the one that we have seen today.
And talk to us about anything that you're hearing, perhaps about the whereabouts of the alleged arsonist, the person who was accused of starting this fire in a revenge attack, shall we say, after an earlier altercation. Are you hearing anything about the whereabouts of that person?
No, we have not had any feedback of the individual, and we hope that the individual will be apprehended. But the focus at Thembekile, I think it was wrong for this person, the individual, to carry out this act, which is very dangerous for people who are living under those conditions. Some of the people were innocently sleeping in their homes, and they caught when the fire came through, and they lost everything. But it's the conditions and the systemic conditions that people are living under are as a result of what has happened. I mean, this could have happened anywhere else. But if people have proper housing, there wouldn't be shacks. If people had, shack fire. If people were, have access to land, because that's what we need at the moment. Because Kennedy Road is very congested, so we need some people to be relocated in a piece of land, so that there's spaces around the area, so that people can live in a very human environment. Literally when you walk, we've lost a lot of people because there are connections that are taking place there of the electricity. And people, just by walking on the passage and they touch somebody's house, they got shocked and they die. So it's a normal thing that has happened, which we should not make it normal for people to die as a result of the conditions that they live under.
Thapelo Mohapi from Abahlali baseMjondolo speaking to us about that fire at the Kennedy Road informal settlement.